The MLB trade deadline is the most exciting part of the season. We have teams willing to trade their prospects for stars to help them in the short term and hopefully help them win a World Series. But sometimes we don't know who won these trades until years down the road. So today, I'm going to tell you about 5 of the worst trade deadline deals in Major League Baseball history. I'm Tony Metro. I make videos on Major League Baseball. I have been pumping them out for you this week. There's so much noise, so many rumors about the trade deadline. This is your place to get all the coverage. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn channel notifications on so you know when I post a new video. Sometimes a trade looks great on paper. A contending team in a heated playoff race just added what they believe is the final piece to their World Series roster. But sometimes they don't pan out and they have to watch the prospect they traded go on and flourish with the team they traded with. So with that, the 5th worst trade in MLB trade deadline history brings us out to the Bronx. The New York Yankees were a pretty sad bunch in the 1980s. They only made the playoffs once. Don Mattingly was really the only saving grace that they had. But in 1987, the Yankees had a young touted prospect, outfielder Jay Buhner, ready to make his debut for the team. In 1987 and 1988, the 23-year-old outfielder appeared in 32 games for the Yankees, but hit just .207 during that time. And the Yankees ended up sending him in a trade to the Seattle Mariners for Ken Phelps, much to the dismay of Frank Costanza.
What the hell did you trade Jay Buhner for?
The rest is history, as they say. Buhner would spend his 14-year career with the Seattle Mariners. He hit 307 home runs, 951 RBIs, and had an 852 OPS. Buhner hit 40 or more home runs in 3 straight seasons from 1995 to 1997. And to make matters worse, he absolutely tortured his former team every chance he got. In 104 career games against the Yankees, Buhner hit 28 home runs, had a 957 OPS, and even in the 1995 ALDS, he had a 458 batting average against the Bombers. Meanwhile, in his 2 seasons with the Yankees, Ken Phelps had just 17 home runs and a 240 average in 131 games. The Yankees had their dynasty in the late 90s and even beat Buhner's Mariners in the playoffs in the year 2000 and 2001. So it's not the worst trade in MLB trade deadline history, but I couldn't pass on the opportunity to put Frank Costanza in one of my videos. In 1997, the Mariners were making a playoff run, but needed some help in their bullpen. The Red Sox weren't having such a great year, but they had a reliever named Heathcliff Slocum. Slocum had previous success closing for the Phillies in 1995 and the Red Sox in 96, but in 97 he was struggling. He had a 5.79 ERA and 5 blown saves in 22 opportunities. Still, the Mariners decided to roll the dice and agreed to send 2 prospects named Jason Varitek and Derek Lowe to the Boston Red Sox for Slocum. The trade looked bad at the time, but it just got worse and worse as Varitek and Lowe became stalwarts for the Red Sox and helped end their curse in 2004. Varitek spent his entire career with the Red Sox. He was named an All-Star 3 times and the team captain, and Lowe switched off between relieving and starting pitching, and in over 370 games had a sub-3 ERA for them. Slocum made 84 appearances for the Mariners over the next 2 years and had a 4.97 ERA. The 1998 Mariners were swept in the ALDS by the Baltimore Orioles, and in 1998 they finished in 3rd place, 9 games under 500. In the 2002 MLB draft, the New York Mets selected high school arm Scott Kazmir with their 1st round pick. Kazmir quickly ascended the Mets prospect ranks as an 18-year-old in rookie ball. He struck out 34 batters in 18 innings. And entering the 2003 season, Kazmir was ranked as the 11th best prospect in all of baseball. At the 2004 trade deadline, the Mets found themselves at 49-53, 4 games under 500, and 7 games out of a playoff spot. What transpired is the 3rd worst trade in MLB deadline history. Mets general manager Jim Duquette asked then pitching coach Rick Peterson what he thought about Tampa Bay Devil Rays starting pitcher Victor Zambrano. In his first 3 MLB seasons, Zambrano had 39 starts, a 4.41 ERA, and an underwhelming ERA plus 97. Peterson allegedly said that he could fix Zambrano in 10 minutes and that Scott Kazmir was at least 3 years away from being a major league pitcher. So the Mets made the trade. They sent Scott Kazmir to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays for Victor Zambrano, only to find out that Zambrano's UCL was in terrible shape. Zambrano already had Tommy John surgery earlier in his career, and it looks like it was a myth job by the surgeon. Zambrano only made 3 starts for the Mets in 2004, who obviously missed the playoffs. He made 31 starts the next season, but after that, his career flared out and ended in 2007. Kazmir would live up to the prospect hype. From 2005 to 2008, he pitched in 117 games and pitched to a 127 ERA plus, including in the playoffs on the way to the team's World Series run in 2008. After the trade, the Mets team doctor, team trainers, and the Rays team trainers were all fired because of how the medical records were passed along. In fact, the MLB Commissioner's Office changed protocol for trades as a direct result of this one, consummating that teams have to have all players' medical records in hand before a trade can be completed. Oh, and by the way, the Mets made a few other trades that afternoon, including sending Jose Bautista, who they'd acquired earlier that afternoon, to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Ty Wigginton. Mets are gonna Met. The second worst trade in MLB trade deadline history includes 3 teams: the St. Louis Cardinals, the Cleveland Indians, and the San Diego Padres. In 2010, the Padres were gunning for a playoff spot. The St. Louis Cardinals needed some help in their rotation, and the Indians were ripe for the picking. So the 3 teams got together. The Cardinals sent outfielder Ryan Ludwick to the Padres, the Indians traded starting pitcher Jake Westbrook to the Cardinals, and the Padres sent a little-known minor league pitcher back to the Cleveland Indians. His name was Corey Kluber. Now, like I said, hindsight is 2020, and a lot of these trades made sense at the time. But what happened after that trade will haunt Padres fans. The Padres missed the playoffs that year by 1 game, and their big acquisition, Ludwick, hit just .240 over 160 games and was traded the following season. And Corey Kluber went on to become Corey Kluber. In a 5-year span beginning in 2014, Kluber won 2 Cy Youngs and finished in third 2 other times. The Padres are back now, but they definitely endured some lean years in between that trade and today. In 1990, the Boston Red Sox were in the middle of a pennant chase, but they needed to fortify their bullpen. So the Red Sox targeted Larry Andersen of the Houston Astros, who had a 1.95 ERA in 73 innings that year. Like I said in the beginning of this video, sometimes these trades can be a little short-sighted. But the Red Sox decided they needed a guy like Andersen if they wanted to make it to the World Series. Newsflash, they didn't. So the Red Sox agreed to a deal. They sent a minor league first baseman who actually grew up in Boston rooting for the Red Sox. He had just hit .333 in AA that year, but with little power, just 4 home runs in 136 games. The deal was done, and the Red Sox fixed their bullpen issues by trading first baseman Jeff Bagwell to the Houston Astros. Hall of Famer Jeff Bagwell spent his entire 15-year career with the Houston Astros, winning the Rookie of the Year, the 1993 MVP, and finishing in second in 1994 and 1997. Bagwell finished his career with a .408 on base percentage, won a Gold Glove, and had a career WAR of 79.9. As for Andersen, he pitched really well for the Red Sox in 1990. He had a 1.23 ERA in 22 innings, but the Red Sox were swept in that year's ALCS by the Oakland Athletics, and Andersen departed for San Diego the next offseason. The Red Sox would go on to have great success in the 2000s, but there's no doubt Bagwell could have perhaps ended that drought much earlier had this trade not happened. So those are my 5 worst deals in MLB trade deadline history. With the benefit of hindsight, none of these trades would have happened, but no one has a time machine. So who knows, maybe a trade at this year's trade deadline will end up on this list 10 years from today. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below, which of these trades do you think was the worst in MLB trade deadline history? And if I didn't mention it, then let me know which is in the comments. Also, give me your prediction. What's going to be the next big trade at this year's deadline? And also stay tuned for my live stream, MLB trade deadline rumors, where we'll be talking about all the latest news on this year's trade deadline.